just wait for our online audience to come on stream. Just working on that. Good to go. Thank you very much, Lisa. Welcome, everyone, and welcome to everyone that's on the online streaming today. Welcome to Taupō, New Zealand, for the Taupō District Council meeting, which is the February meeting. Can you believe already? Item 1 this afternoon, we have apologies, and we have them from Councillor Tonganui Kingi and Councillor Kirsty Truman. We don't have any other apologies. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Westerman. All those in favour, please say aye. Those are accepted. Thank you very much. Any conflicts of interest pertaining to the items today? No? All right, we'll go straight to item number 3, which is the confirmation of the minutes on the ordinary council meeting on the 30th of January 2020. Do we have any points of clarification on those minutes? Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, a couple of things on page 5 in relation to sale yards. It's got 14 Orangery Street. It should be Orangery Road. Orangery Street's in town. Just
Correct.
a minor point there. And on page 6, in relation to the adoption of the Code of Conduct, a member asked, that was me. It's not so much, as I recall, in relation to the item being softened. It was more to align it with what our statutory requirements are.
Okay. What item was that, sorry, Councillor?
5.10 or 5.10.
5.10, yeah.
And just a question in relation to the next point down. Says that council adopts the Code of Conduct as amended and notes that all members are required to sign it. I'm not sure whether it's a clarification of the minutes, but I'm not sure we can actually adopt something that we're still editing. That creates some conflict for us there. So the motion is,
Yeah.
the resolution is that we adopt a Code of Conduct, yet we are still amending the words in that Code of Conduct.
Right.
So what exactly have we adopted, yeah?
Tina? Mrs. Jakes? Oh. Is that okay? Oh, Tim.
Certainly it's practice that we've done before where we've brought up a draft and members wanted to make some changes rather than go back and bring the item back. We've agreed to make the changes and then it's adopted.
Once it's made, once those changes are made, and normally they're fairly minor because we've had the draft for several days, I would suggest it just stops another layer upon a layer. Councillor Taylor, would be still the correct way of doing it as long as it's adopted at that particular meeting.
Look, I accept that. My point is that we've adopted something we haven't actually seen, which we are now bound by.
You
pedantic point, but we have adopted Code of Conduct. We've now had a challenge to a couple of points which we've edited, but we've already adopted it. But we haven't seen what we've adopted, is my point. And I just wonder whether that is an appropriate way to do business, that's all. Oh, I'm happy to leave it there.
Okay, cool. All right, sorry. Any other points of clarification of those minutes? Councillor Westerman. Oh, no, you're right. Oh, sorry, you're grabbing the thing. Okay, could I have a mover for those minutes, please? Thank you. Moved by Councillor Guy, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. 4.1 is the ordinary Turangi Tongariro Community Board meeting held on the 5th of February. Any clarification of those minutes? All correct? Could I call for a move of those minutes? Thank you, Councillor Mack, seconded by Councillor Leonard. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 4.2, Ordinary Mangakino Pahakani Representative Group Meeting, which was held on the 11th of February, the first of the triennium. Any points of clarification on those minutes? Pretty straightforward. Thank you very much. So I have a move for those minutes, please. Thank you, Councillor Westerman, seconded by Councillor Leonard. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 5.1, we have a Taupo rehabilitation, Miro Street rehabilitation. We have roading manager, Mr. Dennis Lewis. Good afternoon, Dennis.
Good afternoon, Your Worship, councillors. We've got an agenda item here for delegation of authority to the CEO and Mayor to accept a tender for some work on Meadow Street. It's some rehab of the pavement there, about 450 metres in length in the middle of that street. The tender's closed on Friday, so they're currently being evaluated. What I can advise council is we received 4 tenders. The pricing of those tenders is within the engineer's estimate that's reported in the report, and it's also within the budget that we have available.
Okay, so the only difference here, Dennis, we haven't selected the tenderer here
No,
yet.
we're still undertaking that evaluation process at
Oh,
the moment.
yeah. Would that come back to us, or you're seeking
No,
delegated
we're
authority
seeking
to sign that
delegated
off?
authority.
Okay.
We'd like to get on with this project as soon as possible, so that
Right.
we can get the majority of it built before the winter.
Yeah. Good as gold. Okay, thanks very much, Dennis. Any questions of Dennis on Miro Street?
Quick one.
Councillor Body.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Firstly, that's the best way to describe it. What do you actually put in on the road to solve the problem? Recently, you did Lakewood Terrace, and some comments were made about the longevity of that ceiling. So is that the same ceiling that's going to go on this particular piece of Miro Street?
The pavement is designed specific to the type of traffic we anticipate, and again with the seal coat, the type of traffic. So Miro Street is quite heavily industrialised. The pavement depth is determined by what we think or what we forecast is going to happen over the life of the pavement, and so that tends to lead to the design and the final outcome of that pavement.
Thank you. And just a quick follow-up. So this monies will be coming from the renewals under transport, is it not?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions of Mr. Lewis? I'm sure the Miro Street will be ready for that to happen. The business is up there. It's quite a significant carriageway, 5,500 vehicles a day.
Yes.
And as you say, constructed in 1964. No doubt we've done some. This is probably the most major works we've done for quite some time there. So good news. All
Yes.
right. Any other questions of Mr. Lewis? Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Seconded by Councillor Leonard, that we give the authority to select the best tender, and the resolution as pointed out there. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against? Carried. Thank you, Dennis. Are you the next one too? Oh, sorry. Mike. Good afternoon, Mike. We have contract number 1920, Mangakino Sewer Relining, 2020 and 2021. Good afternoon, Michael.
Good afternoon, David and councillors. Yes, this is a relining project for sewer in Mangakino. Some of you were here for the first phase of this project, so for those that weren't, we did a lot of condition assessment of the sewers in Mangakino over years, and they've been known to be in poor condition for a long time. A lot of failures in the network, and so we undertook a plan to do a lot of relining work, which covers about 60% of the network over 2 stages. The first stage was completed a couple of years ago. This is the second and final stage of major relining work, and the recommendation is to award the contract to Interflow New Zealand for 1.6 million, and the work would take place between sort of April and October of this year.
Very good, Michael. I presume, were they the previous tenderers that did the first part? Or?
No, they were separate, different contractor this time.
Okay, you don't see any
No, this is a
issues here?
big, well-known,
Straightforward?
reputable contractor.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Mack? No, I thought you were going to like that. I was too smart. Councillor Guy and then Councillor Park. Thanks. Sorry.
Yep. Yeah, so 18.5 kilometres is the entirety of the network of Mangakino, and of that 18.5 we found about 60% of it needs relining. And so that 60% was broken up into 2 stages, and this is the second stage.
Very good. Councillor Park?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Just the tender is for 1.6 and the project was estimated at 1.4. Where is the extra 200k coming from?
Basically we have to rejiggle our other projects, and this project is going to span over 2 financial years. So some of it's coming from this year's renewal money, some from next year's, and there'll be some projects that we may defer or delay. But also the way we've done renewals is some of the renewals are planned renewals, like this one. The stuff we're doing in Takanu with the Rising Main, and then there's reactive renewals. So there's a portion that there's a bit of float in there. Some stuff we know, some stuff we don't. But to fit within budgets, we'll probably start some other stuff a bit later next year.
Thank you.
Very
Through you,
good.
Mr.
Councillor
Chairman.
Body?
So effectively, half the renewal budgets will be used on this to the financial year end of June,
Yes.
and will what's left in that budget be carried over to complete? How does that work?
Yes, that's right. But we expect that we'll utilise all of this year's renewal budget pretty close to...
So the 3 million would probably go this year?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions of our investment into maintenance or renewals out at Mangakino? These things don't come cheaply, so but it's work that needs to be done. So well done, Tom. Thank you to you and your team. Any other questions, Tom or Dennis? No. Michael, sorry. Jeez, I knew I'd get it wrong. Something like. Sorry about that, Mike. Do I have a mover, please, for that? That we appointed to Reline Limited. Who's sorry moved? Councillor Body, seconded by Councillor Taylor. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much, Michael. Right, 5.3, Kittle Drive, Napier Road, Arrowsmith intersection.
Your Worship,
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce Bryson,
Yeah.
actually, working for Claire's team. Claire, where are you?
Thank you, Dennis. And Claire, would you like to come forward
Yeah.
too?
Claire can
Bryson, good afternoon,
Claire
Bryson.
can take my seat.
Welcome.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon, Claire. Right.
Afternoon, Your Worship and
Yeah.
councillors. This agenda item, before I hand over to Bryson to talk you through, it's basically an agenda item that was requested for in the last council meeting for us to go away and do some analysis on different intersection treatments for Kittle Drive and Arrowsmith. And this agenda is basically to advise you that we have completed the report, or consultants Stantec have completed the report and have provided us some options. So it's basically now requesting some unbudgeted funds to carry on with our investigations.
Very good. Okay, thanks very much, Claire. Any questions, Claire, just at this stage before Bryson gets in? Councillor Mack.
So just because I'm new to this one, when they put this new, if you like, intersection in, we must have already done all the different options for that setup, or not? Like we didn't look at roundabouts or anything like that when we put this one in?
Through the chair, a safety audit and peer review was undertaken by NZTA and their consultants and identified a number of recommendations. Roundabout was one of those recommendations. However, the funding that NZTA provided for the intersection didn't cover a roundabout at that stage.
So it didn't even, for the design of a roundabout, it didn't even do that? Like when you go in and you look at it, I assume you go in and look at lights and roundabouts, etc. Do you just talk about it and then just decide that there's no budget to even, like come to us with a roundabout as an example, or do you have to wait and actually go out and then cost the roundabout? Am I making clear? No.
The roundabout was costed,
Yeah.
which is what was sitting in our long-term plan for 26, 27 year. This was the most cost-effective and the recommendation that was going to allow children and cyclists to actually get through that intersection safe.
I suppose, yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that the roundabout was costed, but no designs were done for one. Is that what you're saying?
We do through the chair, we do have roundabout designs. However, the design that we had, the roundabout design we currently have, was designed for an NZTA state highway roundabout, not a local road roundabout.
That's what I was sort of getting at. Okay, cool, thank you.
Cool. Okay, Councillor Westman. Just before-
I suppose just the confusion for some of the newer councillors, particularly me, is you've already committed in a long-term plan in 2026 to do another option. So it was like this one was always going to fail, and I still can't get my head around that.
Sorry. Clear, it was a we put it in there as a possibility if this one didn't work, correct?
Yes and no.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so have we answered your question, Mr. Wisdom?
All I can say through
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman is that it was a deliberate decision of council at the time. So obviously the proposal as was implemented was one that that had come up, been through the peer review process from NZTA, remembering that the changeover of roads was happening at about that same time. I think council laws at that time were clear that they thought that a roundabout was going to be a better option, and so that's why they were wanting to put some money in for a roundabout. But this option, as what's been put in place, was fully funded by NZTA, and the experts at the time, the NZTA commissioned experts, recommendation was that it was the best option. Hence, that's why they were paying for it. So the decision of council was, let's put it in, give it a go, see how it happens, but still have this roundabout money in the budget in case it doesn't. In the knowledge that a lot of the work that was required to make the changes leading up to that priority change wouldn't be wasted work leading into a roundabout going into place anyway. So that was my recollection of sitting through those conversations.
Councillor Taylor?
Just a question regarding the budget estimates on page 67 of our agenda. That's the 1.6 million. Is that part of the consultant's report, or is that in-house work from us?
So the consultant gave us an estimate, but because this is at concept level, we just, we don't actually know, so we prefer to as a range, just in case something does happen, if we do find some ambiguities in geotech stuff in future detailed design.
So through this, just want to make sure we're talking about the same page. So this is a quite detailed breakdown, including design works, design and investigation professional fees, 85,000, MSQA professional fees, 85,000, and so on. So on. Is that, have you got that page open there?
Yes, it's in the Stantec's report in the appendix.
Yep.
So that's the estimate at concept level. So there's still a whole heap of unknowns with that estimate, and you can see there's a contingency line item at the bottom of over 300,000.
330,000.
So that just shows how much we really don't know what the cost is. Well, we have an idea what the cost is going to be, but it hasn't been finalised. It needs to go through detailed design to nail that down further.
So I guess my question is, given that NZTA have done quite a bit of analysis on this, and given that there was an earlier assessment or report done, which, and I guess I'm having a shot at the consultants who've done this report, did not refer to that report in their subsequent, this report we've now got. I'm just a bit mystified as why we would need $170,000 in professional fees just to even get to the starting line.
correct me if I'm wrong, Claire, but the report that Opus did, or the previous design, was at concept level for the roundabout, and it was an 80k speed limit roundabout, if, which is not what the speed environment is now. Therefore, it's a high speed, large roundabout. It doesn't really match to what is in this report. It's a very different solution for a very different problem, really.
Councillor Rankin?
I am assuming that we'll be telling NZTA in no uncertain terms that they gave us the wrong advice, because this is just a big waste of money. I mean, it's been a disaster. And now we have to pay to fix it. You know, we chose it in good faith, taking their advice, and you can't help but believe that their advice was based on a cost imperative. I don't know how they could have got it so wrong. But do we go back and say this has been a disaster?
Through the chair, we are working with NZTA at the moment, looking at different options and different funding subsidy rates for
So
the
they may
intersection.
contribute.
That's right.
Councillor Mack? Oh,
Sorry, so again, looking at this, we budgeted for the roundabout according to this, but when you look at the line above it, it says there were two listed options. One is the signals, obviously, and the other is the roundabout. But the signals, it says, is actually better for pedestrians and cyclists. So why would we put a roundabout in that could then be a problem for cyclists and pedestrians, and we have the same issue we've got now, which is people get hit?
Through the chair, we will be doing a workshop with councillors next week, which we will be talking through the different options, the pros and cons. This is not to decide on the actual treatment option.
yeah. Okay. Bryson, did you want, or do you want to complete anything here? So what we're just talking about today is the appetite to go forward and perhaps with the possible change in getting the money to do this. Is that correct?
So we're asking for unbudgeted expenditure to begin a detailed design, and then the rest of the money put forward for the final solution to be put into the annual plan for 2021. We're also going to NZTA and asking if this is passed, we'll go to NZTA and ask what they can do and to help us. Or the other option is to leave the long-term plan as it is and keep the budget in for the 2026, 27 and 27, 28 years.
Right. So I guess the clarification around the room is that this money you need today to do this design, definitely we have not done that before with previous consultants and all that sort of thing. It's work that needs to be done.
It'd be a new design, especially for the type of environment that it is now. So the designs done before were for an NZTA type level road that was focused on a higher speed and the vehicle movements.
Yeah. But I guess the question goes, they always knew this was going to go back to a local road, so I don't know whether, yeah, but I suppose the speed limit's a different thing, yeah. Okay, Councillor Mack. Sorry.
So just at the workshop then, you will have a costing for lights, assuming that's the way we decide to go. Because at the moment, if we've got a workshop and it's just about a roundabout, then we've just got a roundabout. Whereas this states that pedestrians and cyclists and walkers would be more advantaged with lights. So I would like to look at both options, obviously.
Through the chair, that is the... Sorry, Bryce.
Yeah, through the chair. That is what the intention is of the workshop.
Yeah.
To discuss both options.
And you'll have a costing for lights.
Yes.
Correct.
The costings in there now. So if you look at the options in the paper, and without, if we go to page 33, so without getting into the details now, because the workshop will be where you decide it, the roundabout 1.6 to 1.8, and then the signals 1.5 to 1.7. I guess with the proviso that the signals, as it says in the report, the signals will have higher ongoing operational maintenance costs.
Councillor Park?
Yep, through the chair, I'd like to move recommendations 1 and 2. Safety is definitely the priority. I've got huge concerns about children on bikes and walking through that intersection, so yeah, I therefore would like to move those.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Park. Anyone else want to talk? Councillor Westman?
I'm just confused why it'd be really helpful to have the workshop before we vote on this. Would be a comment I'd make. We'd have a better understanding before we put our hand up to spend 1.6 or whatever million.
I guess through you, Mr. Chair, the thinking here is just from timing perspective. If you believe that the status quo isn't the right option, so if you get past the fact that you feel that something has to happen, then this is allowing the cost or the money to go in there in terms of the design and then into the annual plan for whatever that is. The workshop that you have will enable that decision to be made, but it will still be within that ambit, if you like. So then what goes through the annual plan will be enough for that. So it's allowing the process to continue at the quickest possible time, essentially. Yeah, in a perfect world it is. In a perfect world you go the other way, but just from a timing perspective.
Sorry, through the chair, just to add to that, yes, in a perfect world, we would have done it that way. But we've been asked to bring something back to this council meeting from the issues that we've been all talking about for a while. So we've just tried to maintain that flow. What this does allow is it allows that budget to be set aside, and the treatment option, regardless of the budget, will cover either treatment option that we can discuss on next week in the workshop. The other thing is what I might do is just take 5 minutes of that workshop and just explain through a process of concept through to design, through to tender, and what effect that has on our estimating. So it's just a quick 5-10 minute discussion on that as well, which might help clarify some of the questions.
Cool. Councillor Body?
Just make a work out. So far we've been told later in the day that it's been funded by NZTA. Now we started with 100 grand, went to 1.5 now, 9, it's now 180. Is that fully funded by NZTA?
No.
I'm talking about the existing
Ms.
crossroad.
Charland has quite clearly said that she's in negotiations and talking to them, but there's no guarantees on anything.
Well, at the last meeting when this came up, we were told NZTA was paying for it.
No, incorrect.
I know, and that was the question. Well, I'm going to check the...
Been confused, Councillor. I think
Yeah.
the
I'm
conversation
confused.
was that NZTA paid for the current treatment. So what's there now, NZTA, sorry, so you had said that was this.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
So
Are they going to fund anything further? And what I find interesting is that when you read the document for consultation, the document that we got, they talk about the auto roads in Australia. Well, you can't get into that site because I'm not a council. They talked about a 22-metre diameter roundabout. That's the size of Jarden Mile, less about 1.5 metres. So what are the true costings? At the moment, I'm not prepared to vote on any more money being spent. I'd rather leave it as it is until we actually get those concrete figures.
Okay, Ms. Charland, just to clear, the existing intersection was fully funded by NZTA?
Correct. Up to $100,000, which was allocated for that intersection.
Yeah.
Yes, that was fully funded. So 100% funded by NZTA.
Okay.
180,000 so far.
Up the 100,000 was NZTA. The overrun is actually from the additional treatment that we've had to do since the implementation.
Funded
So that
by?
it's 50%, 51%.
51.
Yeah, cool. All right, it's been moved by Councillor Park. Question from Councillor Taylor.
Just a question of clarification. Look, I'm happy to support this, but I'm just curious, given all of the reports that have already been done, 2 sets of consultants' reports, both before and after the current treatment, what are we going to get for the $80,000 to investigate the appropriate solution, given that we've already got quite a bit? Happy for it to go forward.
Bryson will be able to answer that.
That we're going to spend 80 grand to get what that we don't know already.
So the next 80 grand and probably look, I don't know if it's clearly highlighted like that, but it's 80 grand initially for the start of the detailed design. So depending on what option comes out of the workshop is what we'll carry on detailing design, and that's that would be for construction, so design for construction.
So if I just clarify.
So,
I
sorry,
think-
yeah, that helps.
I
That
think
answers
it's-
my
yeah.
question. So it's not to investigate what we're
No,
actually
no,
going to do.
no,
It's
no,
to
no.
go toward what we decide we're
Yeah.
going
Yes.
to do.
So
Actual
you decide.
So that's not
plans.
clear.
So make it
in this.
really, really clear. You decide next week at the workshop what you want.
Yeah.
Traffic lights or roundabouts, and you've got that report there now that talks about the pros and cons of each option. So you've got the facts. You make a decision which one you want. The money that's in here is for the detailed design, so that you get construction drawings, etc., that you can then go out to tender, give to a contractor, and say, build this.
Thank you. That's
Through the chair.
Cool.
Through the chair.
All right, it's been
Through the
moved
chair.
by,
Through-
oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Councillor Williamson.
Obviously, with the workshop, no, I'm prepared to support this as well. Obviously, with the workshop next week, so the caucasian of these crashes is yet to be reviewed. Is the full crash data that's not available yet? Will that be available next week, or as part of these discussions with the
I'd
workshop?
like to think
Yeah.
it is.
I assume it would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wherever you've got detail, the thing is fairly clear. We have an issue, excuse the pun, we have an issue here, so the crash data, I don't know how long that takes to come through, but yeah, we'll try and get that anyway, Councillor Williamson. Councillor Boddy?
Once again, to try and think outside of the square, would the cost of an underpass be similar to the one put in by Bike Taupo out at Wairaki?
What's an underpass worth, Dennis? Ballpark? Okay,
Thank you, Mr Lewis.
thank you. All right, do I have a seconder? Councillor Guy, thank you very much. So it's been moved and seconded, 1 and 2 of that recommendation up there. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against? Carried. Right, thank you, Bryson and Claire. 5.4, laboratory and sampling services. Sorry, just while we're at it, that workshop this week next week will be a public workshop. So anyone that's interested, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are very, very interested about this topical subject, are most welcome to come and listen to that workshop. Right, 5.4. This is laboratory and sampling services contract. Good afternoon, team.
Good afternoon, Mayor and councillors. So firstly, I'll take the paper as read, but I'll give you a brief overview of that paper.
Yep.
Laboratory sampling services contract will provide testing and sampling services across the 3 waters, including solid waste, water, wastewater and stormwater. And that's there predominantly to meet our legislative requirements and also for operational and engineering support. Over the last year, we've been working through quite a robust contract renewal process, which included a review of the current service and followed by our ROI and RFP processes. And the outcome of that was to recommend awarding the contract to Eurofins ELS Limited for a proposed term of 5 years. This is a brief background on Eurofins. They are a global network of laboratories. In New Zealand, they operate out of our 4 main centres, Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch and Dunedin. And they work closely with 30 territorial authorities, providing sampling and testing services in the area of drinking water compliance, effluent testing, stormwater and environmental resource consent monitoring, so exactly the same as what we'll be requiring. They've got an extensive scope of accreditation and are actively involved in a number of working groups in the 3 waters sector, including with the Ministry of Health and updates to the drinking water standards. Eurofins have committed to operating a local laboratory, and as an organisation they employ lean methodologies to streamline their processes and maintain high quality standards. They've got 2 full-time staff dedicated to this, and so the operational efficiencies and quality of operation is why they've come through as the leading supplier. So the total cost for this service over 5 years is in the order of 2.9 million, including price escalations and contingencies, but exclusive of GST. The estimated cost of our existing service for 1920 is around $823,000. Therefore, we're looking at a savings of approximately $270,000 a year on the existing service. So, therefore, our recommendation is to accept the proposal for laboratory and sampling services submitted by Eurofins EOS for the sum stipulated in the paper for a year of 5 years, for a term of 5 years. And happy to answer any questions on that.
Thank you, Nicola. I appreciate your item here this afternoon. Question, just a quick question. We've had an existing supplier for a number of years. Have they been advised of this?
Yes, they have.
And they,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
How do I ask? Okay, or
Disappointed.
were they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So we had a very strong response in our ROI process. So we selected the top 3 of those to go forward to the RFP, and our existing supplier was not one of those.
Right.
But we were very fortunate that we had a really competitive response, and there was, and that came from industry leaders in 3 water sector. So we trusted our process through that and went with our top scoring parties. But yeah, they are disappointed. But
Okay.
yeah,
There's something, yeah, we've talked this offline, but there's something I, thank them for their services and that sort of thing,
Yeah.
because they have done a wonderful job over the last few years, but I realise, everything
Yeah.
moves on, so
Yeah.
thanks, Nicola. Councillor Westman.
So MD Century did actually put a proposal in, but it wasn't the
Yeah.
preferred one. So the 3 that you've investigated were the ones with the final tick. And were they all a 5-year contract? It just seems like a long period of time where a number of things could happen. If we got an opt-out, obviously, if the service isn't as good as what they've put forward.
Through the chair, we have chosen a 5-year term because all 3 parties committed to a local lab, but to set up a lab and resource it requires a significant period of time for a contract in order to meet the level of service that we need. So anything shorter than that, we probably would have impacted the quality of our submissions. So we are proposing the 5-year term with 2 potential 2-year renewals, depending on how that services performs.
And like all our contracts, someone oversees the contract of the contractor's not performing.
Correct. We have
Oh, you.
we have tight
Lucky.
KPIs,
that-
and we will be tracking that closely. Yep. Yeah.
All right. I think I had a hand over here first, but Councillor Park.
Yes, thank you. Nicola, just around when we had our algal bloom incident a couple of years ago, will the testing of that sort of incident, if it were to happen again, happen at these labs as opposed to being out of town? So we'll actually gain some efficiencies by having all the testing done via these people.
Okay. Yep. I can answer that through the chair. We have a commitment from Eurofins to operate a local lab, and that will include any testing with rapid turnaround response. So that is our drinking water monitoring, any environmental monitoring such as the Lake Terrace mains failure, and they are happy to work with us on any other testing that we might need to be seen undertaken locally. As far as algal monitoring goes, that's quite a specialised test, and that has always been outsourced out of Taupo. But Eurofins is a network that expands around the globe, and with the 4 other laboratories they have in the country, they can outsource depending on what we need, because testing is very complicated. There's so many things that you can test. They will send it to the correct place, and they offer an algal monitoring service as well. So yeah, that is efficiencies with having a big organisation. Yeah.
Excellent. Councillor Body.
Nicholas alluded to this, and it's on page 71. We talked about a proposal for a potential 2-year Tuba 2 extension. Should that be written into the recommendation?
I'll seek advice on that. Sorry, Dennis.
Through the chair, your worship, those extensions of contract come back to council
Anyway, yeah.
anyway when the extension is due, and seek a recommendation.
I understand that, Mr. Chairman. I'm just wondering whether the company that gets this contract would be aware of the possibility of a 2x2. Is it fair that they're advised of that now, per that resolution?
I think it'd be quite clear in the contract, wouldn't it? Yeah, sign the contract.
So that'll be a term in the contract that they sign, and we sign as well, which says you got 5 years, and then at the end of that period, back to council for approval for another 2, and then another 2. So it's standard for all of our contracts in this regard. This would be, yeah, it's not new.
So it needs to be included in the resolution.
Cool. All right. Just a side question: do we measure, Nicola, for methamphetamine and that, like a lot of other councils are doing now?
No, we don't directly measure methamphetamine, but there is a project that is being undertaken which includes Topol. So
Right.
we are in a roundabout way, but we
Yeah.
don't currently include that. That won't be included in this contract.
Okay, but this
But there is a
successful
nationwide.
tenderer would have the ability, though. Have we
Actually,
requested?
I think the meth testing goes down to EL, or what is it? the Christchurch.
ESL, that program off TV.
Yeah.
ESR.
ESR, yeah.
ESR,
They go down
ESR,
to ESR,
yeah.
yeah.
Something
And,
like that.
yeah,
anyway, in
we
lots
do
of
have some
minutes.
monitoring
Yeah.
data.
So it is quite, obviously the council will be very interested to see how prevalent that is. We all know it's, prevalent, but it'd be just good to monitor it. And I know it is a topical conversation at local government New Zealand that councils are measuring quite considerably now to relay the information to whoever. But anyway, sorry.
Sorry, through the chair, just to add to that.
Yeah.
Yes, we are part of a study, and yes, we've been told that we'll get all of the results from the overall study, and we'll be party to any findings of that we can share. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Very good. Thank you very much, Nicola, for your detailed, and Dennis for the detailed item here this afternoon. So we're very comfortable moving ahead with this particular, and I will send out an acknowledgement to the previous operators of this scheme, thanking them for their good service. So, did I have a mover? No. Could I have a move, please? Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Right. 5.5. The licence to occupy Flyline He Papatua Reserve is now canned. Okay, good afternoon, Nathan.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mayor and Councillors. This brief item is just to clean up some loose ends on the Flyline application, which has been going on for around about a year now. So we're just looking for the council to confirm some resolutions just to clear up those loose ends.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, before we do, could we get the dates right? Mr. Murray in regards of January 19, February 19, should they be February and January 20 at the bottom of the discussion?
Yes, you are 100% correct.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much. Okay, it's pretty clear and concise there in that resolution. And the project is over. So, do I have any questions? Councillor Taylor?
Went the wrong way around then.
Councillor Taylor.
Just a couple of small points. Given at the conclusion comments you've got here, Nathan, widespread dissatisfaction. I'm just concerned that as a council we have a lessons learned opportunity from this, that we don't go down this track. So you've got both us as a council, you and your team, local residents, and no doubt the particular individual who wanted to engage in this activity, all experiencing some degree of dissatisfaction. I'm just concerned that this has been a bit of an issue, that would be an understatement, that we've got some lessons learned that we don't go down this track again. I wonder if you could speak to that, please.
Yeah, so immediately after this meeting, I've spoken to Kevin, and we do plan to put together a bit of a lessons learned, an issues paper on what's happened, and I assume if SLT thinks it's worthwhile bringing before council, we'll do that as well. This is one of those applications where Taupō's dichotomy as a tourist destination and balancing that with the local community expectations has been quite a difficult discussion for the councils to make a decision on what is the most appropriate use of that space.
Cool. That would be excellent, Nathan, because, you know, obviously this won't be the last of the applications that come forward, and as you say, it's a tourist destination, so we're going to get these applications again. Be good to have a template there. Councillor Body.
Mr. Chairman, I think we saw this morning a presentation from some very professional people, extremely professional people in an activity that they want to have take place. If you compare that with what we've just worked through with the exercise, the difference is chalk and cheese. I mean, it is so wide, and to see that destruction, and you've all seen the photographs of that reserve, to me was appalling. But I said this in a previous meeting, I'm going to say it again, I was also concerned about the delivery from Enterprise Great Lake Taupo to get this thing to go through. I've got a transcript of comments that were made, which in a public meeting I'm not going to read out, but I'm absolutely disgusted the pressure that, I suppose pressure might be a strong word, was put on those locals in that area by Enterprise. And I think if we're funding an organisation such as that, I know they're a trust, as I've said in the past, it's a pity some comments weren't made as to the actions that took place.
Very good. Okay. There's a recommendation at there, Councillor Westerman.
Look, and it most probably follows on from the disc golf conversation from the other week. I voted against that because I'm concerned about the amount of effort that goes into it and the cost of drawing up lease documents where there's absolutely no upside for the council at $1 a year or whatever the rental was going to be for someone to go and set that up, and not a lot of skin in the game. 2 or 3 years down the track, the project fails, who has to do the clean-up on that sort of thing, and that's why I voted against that one. And this one has the same sort of ring to it, and thankfully it's all wound up now, but I think we need to be careful going forward on what comes across our desk and how we handle it.
Cool. All right, appreciate the comments. I'm sure they're taken on board. Right, dead and buried. Mover, please. Oh, Councillor
through the chair.
Williamson.
I've taken on board all the comments. Obviously, I'm not one for recriminating. I think we'll learn from these experiences. There was a process, we went through, and I don't apologise as part of it. I don't apologise for going through a process, and obviously there was still a lot of work to be done. Obviously, comparing the fly line to zip line, I agree. There's no perhaps comparison, but there was still a lot of work to be done with council, and I, if it was to get over the line. So I think it's just, we just take it on board, and we probably drop the ball, perhaps between April and September with the consultation process. But I think we all just take collective responsibility as a governance, not just pass the ball. So,
sure. Yeah. And we certainly don't want to discourage any possible applicants coming through. We're open for business. Let's not doubt about that. We will look at any possible proposal, but the right steps have got to take place after that. So, Councillor Leonard.
Through the chair, is there any requirement on the company to rectify the damage that's been done at that reserve?
No, not to the best of my knowledge. I don't think the damage is that extensive, to be honest. The lines were cut through for surveying. Most of the places that it went through was not native bush or the best thing, and that enabled us to get in there, clear out a lot of rubbish, and has now opened up that for our operations team to go in and carry out more weed control in the future, if and when we do get in there to do some restoration in there.
All right. We have a mover for that recommendation. Moved by Councillor Leonard, seconded by Councillor Taylor. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Nathan. Right. 5.6, confirmation of the civic building design scope. Mr. Philip King. Good afternoon, Philip.
Good morning, Your Worship. Good afternoon, Your Worship, councillors. Just back to you with the Civic Administration Building project, and we've discussed along the way that we were building a building to IL4, and we've talked along the way about removing the one level of underground parking. And now just in the original scope, there was an option to include a cafe and a bus hub, and to be sort of talked through with the concept design as it got developed, and as the concept design starting to unfold, there's no appetite for council to include a cafe or a bus hub in the building. So this is a resolution for you to formalise that decision.
Very good. Okay, so it's fairly straightforward. And then, yep, Councillor Mack.
Can I just go for clarification, because that's all cool, but we do seem to keep bringing this word underground car parking back, which is a bit unusual. So it says here that two if you like, floors have gone with a saving of 5 million, but you're still using the word one underground, which we're not using the word underground at the moment because we're
Basement.
Yeah.
Basement
Okay.
parking.
Yeah. So that's that was
Correct.
the agreement, so that we could actually be saving a lot more than 5 million.
Correct, yeah, so basement parking is the term that I should have used correctly.
Yeah, basement, yeah. It's not underground, it's basement. But it could happen to be underground, but it's basement, yeah. Yeah. Councillor Rankin. Yeah, sure. Yeah, and the big thing is the bus stop, just to reassure the people out there, the bus stop is still not off the agenda. You know,
It's still
it's going
part
to be
of
part
the
of that transport strategy.
strategy.
And we just felt that this wasn't the right location for it. Where it is the right location, who knows? But yeah,
correct.
So that's just to formalise that. All right.
So, through you, Mr. Chairman, if we're going to have a basement, a one-level basement, and we've saved 5 or 6 million on having two-level basements, is this going to cost another 5 million? Is that about the price? The reason I raise it, and the other question I ask, is it still only going to be for the 30 fleet cars?
Through the chair, the resolution on the basement is done. This is just around the removal of the cafe and the bus hub.
Yeah.
You know, while we've got the chance, so the basement is still going ahead. Is that a $5 or $6 million cost to the build?
The cost will become apparent as the concepts start to fold out and we give it to our QS and he starts to price it up for us.
So leading to the point, as I've said in previous council meetings, that if we're spending $5 million on parking for 30 cars, is that a good use of ratepayers' money?
I think that'll be debated. Yeah, that's already been debated and will be continue to be debated, but it's not the subject of the debate today as far as the resolution is concerned in front of us. Okay, Philip. Nothing you want to add?
No.
All right. Do I have a mover? Please move for Councillor. Sorry, Councillor Rankin. Seconded by Councillor Guy. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against. Carried.
Your
Just
Worship,
before you go, Philip. Sorry, John. I believe you are doing Ironman.
I am doing Ironman.
Next weekend. So all the very best
One
for
after.
that.
Thank you.
And when you have finished that, come and see me, and I'll show you how to put on some weight.
Right. We'll do a share thing.
No, you're looking great. You're looking great, mate, and all the very best for that. And this is yours first?
It's my first anything since school. Well, apart
Wow,
from the half.
first time caller.
Your Worship, you just moved, sorry, you've just moved in seconded something and voted. I'm abstaining.
Oh, sorry.
It's interesting that the ACC are building a building in Hamilton, or the Tainui, I think it is, a building for ACC in Hamilton for them to lease. I'm sticking my principles of leasing rather than building, so I'm abstaining from the votes to do with this. So I do welcome the removal of what
Okay,
this
well, remember
resolution's
that all
done.
the resolutions that come forward regarding the building, you abstain to them all. Okay, good as gold.
Roger.
Okay, thank you for the information. I'm sure the ladies
thank
here, yeah. So, all the best, Philip, on that early start. And, of course, Gareth is doing it as well, so, yeah. All right, okay, that was all done, right, wasn't it? What are we up to? 5.7? So it's triennial agreement.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Your Worship, and councillors. So
Good afternoon.
last
Tammy.
month we came to you and we presented 3 of the triennial agreements that were ready at that point.
Yeah.
I said one of the triennial agreements that we're still going to have a meeting. They had that meeting last week, and so the agreement has been approved and sent through to us. And so this is what this report is about, to ask council, to recommend to council to adopt it. We are a non-primary party to this agreement, and it remains essentially the same as the one for the last triennial. As I mentioned in my report, the major difference is just the frequency of meetings and, well, a chapter detailing out strategic priorities for this triennium. But again, for both that, the frequency of meetings and the frequency of assessments as for primary parties, doesn't affect us in any way.
Cool. Thank you, Tammy, and myself and the CEO. We had the phone conference to finalise this last week.
Yes.
So it's a pretty standard thing that we do every triennium. We're only subsidiaries, or whatever you had a better word for it, to the agreement. But we do, Hawke's Bay is are friends of ours, and so I'm more than happy to sign up to this. Not that it commits us to any time or any monetary value at all. Questions? No? No questions, straightforward? Someone happy to move? Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Guy. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tammy. Nice to see you. Okay, we have 5.8, Council's January performance report.
So, Mr Chairman,
Good
the
afternoon,
team will
Mr.
come up
CEO.
and take you through page by page of the report. There's just 3 things that I'll highlight there, mainly because they're of significant interest to me. The first is the playground at Tongaro Domain. You'll see there that we've selected a contractor and starting to consult with some of the neighbouring properties around that playground. And we are planning a consultation day down at the site where we can get both users, i.e. children, and parents and other interested parties to provide their feedback and ideas and stuff like that. So that's coming up soon. Actual construction of the playground will be about mid-year, about July. We're just trying to work through timings of that around Winter Festival and other things, but it'll be through the middle of the year. And then obviously, and you've spoken about Ironman with Mr King doing it, obviously we have that next weekend, which is all going well. The bike course, or the courses, have changed to previous years, so there are new people who are affected by change to vehicle movements and the like, primarily Rifle Range Road and Taharipa Road, which haven't been affected in the past. Consultations occurred with all those people, and so far fairly positive responses, which is good. The Ironman have had a slight impact, of course, from coronavirus. So any Chinese athletes have been unable to enter New Zealand to compete. So Ironman have offered those athletes either refunds or the ability to be able to transfer their entry to another race around the world. And of course, a large number of athletes who were transiting through China have had to change their plans. So some of them have pulled out as well. That said, it is the biggest field that Ironman's had in Taupo ever to date, primarily because of the extra athletes doing the half Ironman on the same day, the 70.3 competition. And the third and final one that I was point out, because again it's of interest to myself and to staff, is just the note in the last paragraph there that phase 1 of the IT project that we undertook with Technology One is complete. That was the HR and payroll components of the system. And thankfully, and you'll be all happy to hear that we avoided any NovaPay type issues, and it was relatively seamless. We did have 1 or 2 minor issues, but for the scale of the project it was relatively seamless. The significant part of that project starts from now, which is into our finance, regulatory and document management systems. So that's a major piece of work for quite a large team, transferring all of that information through. The positive for the community and our customers, though, is that it's that part which starts to provide some of the real benefits for them in terms of what they see from a customer service delivery perspective, being able to access our information and have things real time. So that's all. Unless there's any questions, the rest of my report will give through to the team to walk through page by page.
Very good. Thank you. Pierre?
Just two issues, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yep.
Firstly, I received the notification, the flyout to the properties in regards to the routes of Ironman. Is there any need to put it either end of the town for those that don't want to necessarily come through to do that bypass? Because as a local, I know where it is and know how to use it, but others might not.
So the signage, and I know Mr. Lewis is part of this as well. The signage on the course does push people up to around those points and around the bypass.
fine.
So that'll be really clear, including signage to get to the hospital and the like as well.
Okay, that's good. The second one was in regard to your playground. Letters have been dropped to the neighbouring properties and key users of the program, noting closure and engagement opportunities, which comes first. And I think we had a very successful one round at Acacia Bay, where the community got together. We ended up with what we got. So are we envisaging doing something like that?
We're just designing that project up at the moment, so the consultation of that, and there'll be something very similar to that. Yes. Yep. So this is the current site, the current playground site, which is an extension of that. So there's is it 750,000 top of my head? 850,000 in the budget to improve that playground.
So when you say the neighbouring properties, like the commercial boys across the road?
Correct, commercial across the road, the police, our own activities of the museum and the like.
Thank you. Through the chair, fortunately this stage of the year we're ahead of plan. I say that because with everything happening, you're not quite sure what the rest of the year is going to deliver. We're ahead activity-wise in the building area. We're ahead on investment income, but for example, the share markets in the world dropped about 3% overnight. What we are in the process of doing is forecast for the year. About this time of the year, it's an ideal opportunity to try and predict where we're going to be at year end. As you can see, we've got a surplus of over 3 million at this particular stage. It'd be good if we could finish the year with a surplus of 3 million. But part of that is that some of the activities that occur are, when we do the budgets, are phased evenly over the 12 months. But depending on activity related to the weather and things of that nature, then it doesn't necessarily match evenly month after month. Others are phased accordingly. So that's why the forecast process is quite important at this time of the year, to give everybody a more clear view as to where we're heading. But all indications are that we will end up the year ahead of plan. It's just a matter of to what extent, and it varies across each of the activities. As you can already see in the group of activities which the team will be talking to you about, some of them are ahead of plan, some of them behind plan, but that can also be related to the work programs that take place. So basically, we're in a good spot at the moment. Touch wood, it continues for the rest of the year. But you know, happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Stop spending and we'll be all right?
Oh, no, we need to keep spending. Yeah.
No, that's all right, no problems at all. Thank you very much. Any questions of Alan?
Just very quick as a point of interest, Alan, you've mentioned about, where the hell are we? Not loan repayments, the other one, to do with depreciation, because the revaluations were lower than forecast.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
What actually happens is when we do the budgets, which start around about October, November, we actually have to, well, let's take it back a step. Every 3 years there's a physical valuation done on part of our assets, whether it's buildings, whether it's three waters, whether it's roading. But each year we actually have to anticipate what those valuations are going to be. So when we did the plans for this year, it was buildings that had the physical valuation come through at the 30th of June. We predicted an increase in the value of those buildings greater than what the actual valuations came in at. So we set our depreciation based on our estimated value. As you can see by the work that I shared with you last Tuesday, the growth in the commercial building side was nowhere near as high as the growth in the residential. We overestimated what the growth would be in our buildings, etc. And hence we budgeted depreciation higher than what is actually required. I think I'm keeping my eye on it because I can see some good buy opportunities. Yeah. But we'll just watch it, yeah, as to what actually happens.
Okay, thanks very much, Alan. That's cool.
Sorry, just for clarification, because sometimes our papers, we get one lot to start and then it might be there next time. So to do with the Treasury report,
yes,
is that going to be taken to the last as we've gone through other cost centres?
Sorry?
Well,
I can do that now.
Oh, okay, because sometimes it's earlier in the agenda,
Yes.
sometimes it's...
As I said earlier, the investment return is above what we budgeted. My concern is that with the falling interest rates, and we have a significant amount of money on term deposit because corporate bonds are not available in the marketplace, that our positive return versus budget is probably going to diminish over the rest of the year. You know, when you look at TD rates now at 2.7, we were budgeting for a 3% yield on the TL fund. We're still achieving 3.6, but it's when you've got TD rates, as I say, well below 3, I'll just have to be a bit more active in the share market.
Equities, 50% you should have 50% equities anyway.
Before Alan goes on page 127, I have a question in regards of where the hell are we? 127, we've got the TEL Fund investment portfolio. At the list at the bottom, we've got property at 2.5, which I assume is the RSA building.
That's the RSA land, yes.
The RSA land.
Yes.
I'm having difficulty working out that if that's an investment, at the months before we had 61 million in that account. If we take the 2.5 off, it comes down to 59.1, and then it's shown somewhere else at 2.5. Have we ever? So do we use the TEL fund to buy the RSA build?
It's part of the investment of the TL fund. At some stage, we'll be bringing a paper to you to consider the actual physical work needed to turn it into a car park, and whether in fact at that particular point of time the assets should move into council's books out of the TL fund. But that's a separate discussion.
What John's saying is 61 should have gone down 2.5.
Well, no, what I'm saying is for end of October, November agendas, we had 61 in the TEL fund. If that has just gone in to make another 2.5, the 61.6 will come down to 59.1. I'm just thinking, if it was 61, we've added 2.5, I would have thought it would have gone to 63.
No, out of the 61.6 million, 2.5 of it has been spent on that bit of land.
Yeah, so it's still sat there.
Yeah, it's an asset within the books of TL. Yeah.
Having said that, it might have gone up in value already. You never know. You never know. All right.
Thanks, Alan.
Democracy and planning.
Investments. Oh, you got that.
That's me.
That's you. Thank you, Tina.
So in terms of finances, there's nothing untoward there. That's all tracking pretty good. And then the projects, again, most of those you're aware of, district plan, so we'll be doing a workshop in March, just bringing you up to speed on that. We've talked about the annual plan, the transport strategy, so again, some work's been happening around that, and we'll be coming back to you again in terms of some workshops, probably more towards the beginning of April. Haven't received any information back on the Healthy Rivers plan change. And again, workshops in relation to the long-term plan and the strategies, probably end of March, beginning of April. And the grants and partnerships policy review is going to be in the risk and assurance agenda for next month. So happy to take any questions.
Very good. Thank you very much. Tina, any questions regarding democracy and planning? No. Community Services, Mr. Brian Fox.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good afternoon, councillors. Really not much more to add to what Gareth's got in his opening address in his report. He talks about the staffing issues and the success we're having in that space and filling jobs in the building area. I've mentioned that before in previous conversations. He talks about Project Quantum and the fact we're moving into a new module shortly. That impacts heavily on my area and the regulatory area. So one of the key concerns for me is just making sure that we keep the business as usual stuff happening as well as our development in that space. Which sort of lends itself to that whole resilience of our business and business continuity planning, which we're heavily involved in right now. In that space, we have engaged contractors on an as and when required basis, both in terms of legal and in the building area. You know that Ella has left us from maternity leave. In fact, I don't know whether there's any news on that. No movement there yet. Yeah, really business as usual. For want of a better term, it's never usual, but happy to answer any questions in that space.
Just on that position, I know it's operational, the maternity leave. Would we get someone in on a short-term contract, or do we outsource it all, because that is quite expensive, isn't it?
So we have outsourced as required the transactional elements of that role.
Right.
And we will cope with the internal, the higher stuff internally. A lot of that work occasionally does go out to Simpson and Grierson, as you well know, Your Worship, for various things. So not unusual in that space. Ella has given us some assurances about a desire to come back, and I'm looking forward to that happening.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, cool. Very good. All right. Any questions of Brian? Sorry. There he goes. Thank you, Brian. Dylan, Community Facilities.
Afternoon all. Just on the numbers, I'll make a point. It's not unfavourable. It's 0.0.
Yeah.
So please see it as
So what is
favourable.
that?
It's
Is
positive.
Is that positive or neutral?
We'll say neutral, but I still see it as a positive, Your Worship.
Where's Alan, the accountant?
I've got to hold on to that. The donuts looking okay. Gareth's already mentioned some of the projects that are there. Great Lake Walkway, just an update. The antisocial behaviour by some of our locals towards our contractors isn't featuring as much since the media campaign going through. And I believe there's been a little bit of a tour going out on to have a look at the site. They're on C75 property at the moment, coming around Kaiwaka Point. So the hapu actually took a bit of a tour up onto the property and had a look, and it looks smart. It looks really good. Once the bush hammering and some of those other techniques around branding it is going to be pretty cool. You'll see we've got one red blob sitting in there, and that is a Motutere Recreation Reserve Management Plan. There is a, what would you call it? It's a difference of opinion between our leasee and ourselves, and so as a result we've ceased our work around the Reserve Management Plan, with the Māori Heritage Study being complete, but the Reserve Management Plan still sitting there to work through while we try and maintain or rebuild that relationship with the leasee.
So
Other than that,
sorry, just on that, is that gone to an external party, or are we doing that in-house, or?
he's exploring his options.
Right.
He still, as I say, the leasee has a difference of opinion of what we have in place, and so our team's working alongside him and his advisors to find some pathway forward.
And do you mind, and probably it's probably a later conversation, where's the status of reverting that land back to the iwi?
That conversation sits with the Crown, so Department of Conservation through their minister are having conversations.
Yep.
We've offered support to sit in those conversations, but as yet that's not been taken any further.
Okay. Thanks, John.
All
right, thanks very much. No questions of Dylan? No, good. Water, Kevin.
So through the chair, there's nothing really to add on water other than what's been written there. The reds are the same reds, predominantly our non-compliance for protozoan compliance, so UV, the things that we've got planned to do. And the other one is just the timeframes around the Lake Terrace upgrade there for the membranes. And Te Rahonga is still working, we're working through that. So happy to take any questions, but otherwise I can move on to transportation.
Yeah, just quickly, Adam Murray's mentioned this month, it wasn't in October. Is that done monthly, Adam Murray?
Mentioned whereabouts, sorry?
Underwater.
Underwater, yeah.
Right at the bottom, first page.
They're all done probably fortnightly for those small ones.
The reason I raised it wasn't, and I didn't go back further than October. I can't remember seeing it in October, so hence my question.
Okay, we'll have a look at that. Yes, at least.
Transport.
So transportation, just a couple of updates there. So Hooker Falls is out to tender at the moment, and that'll be closing on the 6th of March. So we did the landscaping end of last year, and we're ready to move on to the actual footpath. So that's the extension all the way to Hooker Falls. Mapa Road footpath, tenders have now closed, and we're seeking clarification on some of those, the leading tenderer, and then hopefully we can just let that out because it's below budget and it's below 500k, so we'll just run through Gareth for that.
Cool. Councillor Westerman.
Just remembering a little bit of history there with the water runoff down to Tom Condon's old place. That's obviously all included in hand.
Yes, so through, I don't know, I haven't seen the detailed design, but we were looking at curb and channel, and we're fully aware of the amount of water that goes through there.
Sorry, how far up Mark Road does it go?
It's going up to Acacia Heights Drive.
Right, okay. Councillor Taylor.
In the context of all that budgets, I know this is a minutiae, but it just grated me when I read it. The cost overrun for the fence on the Kinloch Road footpath, $65,000. I've actually driven past it on the weekend, and if that's a $65,000 fence, heaven help us. I mean, that's outrageous in my view.
Yeah, no, I don't know enough of the detail of it. I can't find out and let you know.
You know, it's just if you have a look at it, it's a wooden paling fence, but for 65 grand, I'd want to see gold nails.
Are they not gold?
Here he is. He's popped up. He's arrived. Yeah. Dennis.
Through your chair, your worship, the fence was in the order of 15k, I think it was. The primary cost overrun was due to the proximity vertically of the services that were in the berm. The original design provided for more cut to even out the path. When they started digging, they found that the telecom services were far closer to the service than what they anticipated, and that resulted in the change in the design at the time that led to the cost overruns.
That's fine, but that's not what's written in the paper.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. Wastewater. Have we done wastewater? Yeah, no wastewater.
Wastewater. I suppose just a comment that CAMEX are finishing in June the carbon dosing and the work down in Turangi, which has been ongoing for a little while. And the Kinloch irrigation is on site in March. The program completion is late June, and it'll take probably a couple of months to commission that. So that's that'll solve our problems of the nitrification in our disposal fields and the overflows.
Cool. Solid waste.
Nothing to report on solid waste and stormwater. It's going everything stickety-boo basically.
Obviously the collections are sort of come right.
I think the collections are coming right. I think Gareth has played a big part in that, bringing up their CE and working through that at the CE to CE level. But there has been some marked improvements, yes.
So we had a number of conversations with EnviroWaste, as Kevin says, at their chief executive level. As a result of those conversations, they have put extra staff and extra trucks into Topol. and are currently working with our asset managers around a full review of a first principles review of the solid waste activity. So what they're saying is, look, there may be some elements of the collections which need to go to different days to even them out. So rather than being all busy on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and nothing later in the week, we might need to even that out a bit more, as well as having the extra resource. But it's a I guess a signal of the increased number of dwellings and therefore rubbish in the district is that these things are changing, particularly some of those collection days. But since that conversation and them having extra trucks on board, the ongoing problems that we were having have stopped, which is good.
How long to go on that contract, sorry? Yeah.
It's about another 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
But Brent's looking at bringing a workshop up to you very shortly around what you might want to do in the solid waste area going forward. Obviously, there's a big lead-in time if you do wish to change, from wheelie bins to what sort of recycling you want to do and things like that.
Councillor Boddy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The fire at the landfill, originally I was told it could have been a lithium battery. Was it? And I also mentioned combustion, which I think is indicated here. Has the cause actually been worked out yet?
Through the chair, no, the cause, I think we're always going to struggle to find that absolute cause because it is a landfill. But we're highly likely that it was a lithium battery in that space because that has caused fires in other areas, so they think. So it's pretty hard to really define it.
So through you, Mr. Chairman, is that something we need to work on, an education of what can and can't be recycled? But I don't know of anyone within the district that would go and picking up lithium batteries unless there's a place at the landfill when you drop your bottles off.
Certainly that's something that Brent's been working on and something he's working on nationally as well as a whole lot of education around those types of issues. Yeah.
Stormwater?
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report, thank you. Thanks, Kevin. Economic Development, John?
Okay, so obviously we have a minister in town who's going to make some sort of announcement on Thursday, which you're all invited to. Not sure what it is. We commenced our economic development portfolio meetings with Councillors Rankin and Guy. We've also, Anna has joined us from international relations as well, so we've put it all together. I think they've been going pretty well. We've met twice now. So I guess some work will come out of that in the near future. And I guess the other thing is the delegation that Jess bought, proposal that was brought here is obviously still on hold until further notice. Yep, that's what I've got.
All right, thank you, John. Any questions of John? No? Okay, all done. No final questions? All right. A recommendation there, could I have a move it, please? Thank you, Councillor Westman, seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Okay, number 5.9. Proposed amendment, Mangakino Pauakani, representative group, terms of reference. Good afternoon. Tina.
Thank you. As you recall, the last council meeting we had some discussion around the membership of this group, and there was some suggestion that given the complexity of the makeup there that we should be looking at both a Maori and a Marae representative. So this paper allows that discussion and change to terms of reference if you so wish.
Very good. Okay. So I think that suggestion basically came from the councillor domiciled out there, Councillor Truman, which made sense to me. I don't think there's too much adverse reaction around the table for that. Pretty straightforward. Okay, could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Westerman, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Tina. 5.10 is the local adoption of the local governance statement.
Yep, thank you, Your Worship. Again, this is one of those things we need to review post the local government elections, and you'll note from the attachment, the draft there, that there's a track change with some suggested changes. Happy just to take any comments that you don't agree with rather than go through page by page.
Yep, no problem. Okay, thank you very much, Tina. Any questions or any changes? Yeah, no, that's right. Councillor Taylor has actually read this one twice. So, Councillor Taylor, have you got anything to add?
No, I've already spoken to Tina prior to this, and
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
comfortable with what we've got.
Good. Thank you very much. All right. No other questions of Tina? All right. We have a recommendation there that we adopt the draft, we adopt the draft Taupo District Council Local Governance Statement 2019-2022. Moved by Councillor Body, seconded by Councillor Guy. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. 5.11, council engagements. The meeting dates there.
Yes, that's correct.
Have we got any changes to those, Tina?
No, nothing that I'm aware of at the moment.
Okay. And there's some recommendations there that that we appoint Councillor Guy to, if she's available. Councillor Guy has indicated her willingness to be part of the Audit and Risk Committee, Risk and Assurance Committee. She had a name change for that there. Zone 2. Do I have any takers for Zone 2? Over in Tauranga. It's a 4-day meeting, is it? No, is it? How long do they take, Tina?
It's a 1 day.
1 day,
Just a
okay.
day one, yes.
Very good. Any takers? Councillor Mack? No? That's right. Okay, so we might just have to leave that vacant at the moment and put our apologies in, perhaps. Yep. I am mindful, we do get pulled from pillar to post, but Zone 2 is one that we don't really regularly attend, and so we might just have to have some further discussions about that, whether there's a roster system. What's that, sorry?
Yeah, I was going to have a chat to you about maybe a roster system.
Yeah,
so
to
that
go.
we do get.
Yeah, because they are good. Sure. Very good. Okay, so just we put a, what do we do there? Just say
Send
nothing?
an apology through.
Send an apology through. Okay, good. Council approves the Sister Cities New Zealand 2020 conference being held in Ashburton. So I wasn't too sure if anyone was interested in that. I think further information has been gathered regarding that one, and we'll possibly put our apology, unless you want to go as Chair International Relations.
On some expert advice I received earlier today, I'm not quite sure it's worth the trip to Ashburton. I think there are other ways of gaining that intel.
Okay, cool. Very good. Thank you very much, Councillor Park. So 3 and 4, we will take out, or whatever.
Yep.
Whatever we do with that. Okay, can I have a mover, please, for the rest of the scenario? 1 and 2. Yep, thanks, Councillor Leonard, and seconded by Councillor Taylor. Right, where are we now? Portfolios, is it? Members' reports, 5.12. Last on the agenda. Members' reports, do we want to go through? Has anyone got any members' reports, burning members' reports they want to bring up? Councillor Body.
The two issues, one I've already brought up in regards to Walkway, very, very happy with what they're doing from an access Taupo point of view. But our last access meeting, we've got some major problems with persons using the disability car parks, particularly in supermarkets. That's private land, but if we had a bit of a delegation, when Pack and Save appears to be quite bad, to go along and actually explain to them so they can probably self-police. And unfortunately, they blatantly pull up in their cars, get the kids and go into the supermarkets, and it's not going down too well. So I'm not quite sure how to handle that.
I just don't know how people do that. I just don't know how they do it. You know, it's wonder. But anyway, but it does happen. You're dead right. You're dead right. Whether it could be whether your committee or could be worth going and talking to those people at the supermarkets. They're wonderful people.
That's easily done, but the power of delegation is who you take. And I think even if the mayor or the deputy mayor or an officer of, maybe, I know Rose Prisk is very active in that area, it just needs to have an authority behind it to try and get the message through. Now, we've got these things up on the shelves about wet wipes. Why don't we have them, get them to put those signs up in regards to the car parking?
Yeah. No, fair enough too. I'm sorry, the CEO's nodding his head. Sure, he's quite happy to go. No?
Well, it's probably a mural thing, to be honest. More than happy to attend.
Okay, no problem. No, we'll, it's a good idea. He's a wonderful guy, the new owner of Pack and Save, I'm sure. He'll be very accommodating. Well, actually, the marking's actually quite faded now too. Have you noticed? Yeah, it's a busy car park, that. It's a shocker. But anyway, it's probably timely that we have had a few people or something, and also countdown. Right. Any other members' reports? Councillor Rankin?
Perhaps I should mention, in terms of economic development, that the thing that the three of us have been talking about at the meeting that Mr. Ridd talked about is the destination management plan, and it's an absolutely huge undertaking. It'll take about 3 years to complete that plan, but once we have, once you start the work on it, the government will let you access the International Visitors Levy account, which means that we can start some of the development we might want to do. It plots out that development. It's very consultative, it's very time consuming, and we have to contribute an amount of money to it, but it does give us a great return. So we are talking about, it's a huge, huge job, which Jess has under control at the moment. But we will be coming back to you with much more detail and a request for funding.
Cool.
Our part of it. Everyone contributes.
Is that the TIF fund you're talking about, or is that, what is,
No.
something separate? MB1, is it? Okay.
An MB fund of $1 million over 3 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so 50, 25, 25, and sets out that framework, as Councillor Rankin has just said, with local government. Basically, it's looking at a national and a regional framework that has everything from conservation management strategies, national park management plans, iwi hapu, land transport, labour market strategies, and regional economic and tourism strategies. So it's really a framework for anything moving forward. So it's a huge, quite daunting when you read through it.
Appreciate that, but if there's central government money, might as well be in the lineup anyway.
Well, it'll allow us to do some of the things we desperately want to do without paying as much for them.
Great. All right, just looking down the portfolios, anyone else got anything new to add? No? More straightforward. All right. Sorry.
Yes.
Councillor Guy, sorry.
I attended an EGLT workshop with Burl, and I won't go into details at the moment, but I'm sure that EGLT would be keen to present in a workshop situation the findings of that.
Sure. Is that the latest sort of infometrics?
No.
Oh, housing one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got that programmed in the workshop.
Yeah. We were talking to the housing there. Oh, that's right. Yeah. The Waikato Mural Forum, the housing conversation was quite extensive. So there's quite a bit happening in that space.
The more you delve into it, the bigger it becomes.
Yes,
so
that's right. I think so.
It's a huge piece of work also. But moving forward, I think it's
if
going
you
to
haven't
give
got that work done too, it's so important, because the minister's going to come and say to us, well, housing, we've got a problem with housing. Well, what do you want? What is exactly what you want? And if you've got a report quite clear and detailed, this is what we actually want, I think certainly helps. All right, no other members' reports? Thank you, Councillor Guy. I have a mover, please, that receive the report. Thank you, Councillor Westman, seconded by Councillor Guy. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Very good. Meeting closed. Move into conference, Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Guy. All those in favour, please say aye.